In case you missed it, over the weekend, the Queen of England celebrated her Platinum Jubilee with an epic celebration, but her 4-year-old grandson Louis stole the show with a tantrum and some big emotions. Today we are breaking down whether that tantrum was possibly sensory related and what Prince Louis teaches us about toddler tantrums. So we can't ignore the elephant in the room. Sitting plus loud noises plus excitement equals sensory overstimulation. In my years of working with thousands of children as an occupational therapist, as well as raising my own children, this is kind of the recipe for the far majority of children. If you're a parent, you've probably experienced this at some point or another, and I want to know where it was. Where was your epic, in public, meltdown moment? Mine, my biggest one at least, was in a grocery store, and it was over broccoli. So I want to hear about yours. Leave me down in the comment box. This thing of tantrums and overstimulation, let's really look at what is happening inside the body. So when we are excited, we have a big emotion going on in our body, there's a reaction to that. And one of the reactions is that our sensory systems are primed to take in information. We are not just excited about the potential of a lion chasing after us, from Stone Age, but we are excited about an event. So we are primed to take in more when we are like that. And then you get all of the more that comes with big events. So for Prince Louis, this was the rock concert, the orchestras, the opera. I mean, just so much excitement apart from the millions of people that were there, and so much sensory information coming into his body. Now, I like to think of the way that we process sensory information, or as we call it, sensory processing, as kind of being like a cup. It has a definite amount that it can take in, each of our bodies, and we're all primed a little bit differently, that we can take in maybe a little bit more sound than someone else, or maybe we're a little bit more sensitive to feelings like the touch of sand on our feet than somebody else. But overall, we all have a threshold for the amount of sensory information that feels good within our bodies. Now, for young children, they are still learning about what that means. It's still hard for them to tell whether they're hot or cold. You see, as adults, we naturally have all of these little tricks that we do to calm our sensory systems. Maybe you chew the insides of your cheek, maybe you squeeze your hands, maybe you start doing deep breaths, or you reach for your bottle of water. These are all the ways that we naturally calm ourselves. Another one is moving. So when we are in a situation like this, especially for a child where there is excitement, there is so much sensory information, and they're not able to move their bodies, it's almost guaranteed that there's going to be a tantrum. You see, when we move, and especially for children, when they're moving their bodies, they are activating their proprioceptive as well as their vestibular sensory systems. And these are almost like inbuilt natural release valves for our sensory build-up that we are experiencing. And that brings us to the next point of what Prince Louis teaches us about toddler tantrums, and that is that all children will surprise us. As the meme goes, if you said before you had children that your child would never do something, it's pretty much guaranteed that they're going to do that thing, right? Whether it's putting funny nose faces at your mother in front of literally the world, or whether it's like my child screaming about eating raw broccoli, we know that our children will express themselves in ways that possibly don't fit with what we would like them to be. But here's the thing, it's really easy to mistake that expression of a need, whether it's that they are hungry or upset, whatever it is. It's very easy for us as parents to read that expression as a report card on our parenting. So listen, if you are getting anxious about the way that your child is responding, especially when it is in a public setting, you can really give yourself a little bit of a break, because if even the Prince of England gets a little bit rowdy sometimes, we can sure as anything expect that our kids will too. So if you can release yourself a little bit from that pressure or that internal dialogue about all the things that you're doing wrong as a parent when your child is simply expressing a need, you will also be able to temper your response, which will be incredibly helpful in this situation. The way that we respond when our children are having a tantrum really matters. Now, we talked a little bit about what happens inside the body, excitement, sensory stimulation, having to sit. If you throw into that a big response by your primary caregiver, the person that makes you feel safe and seen, then what we're going to do is push our children into fight and flight. And that is basically bringing the adrenaline on board for not just a tantrum, not just some silly faces, but an epic meltdown. So Kate, bless her, she did so well. She stayed present, she stayed calm, and you'll see later on in the day that he actually goes to her and asks for a hug, and that is perfect because it's again using our sensory systems to calm our sensory systems, so that big hug gives that deep pressure and really brings him back down, and it gives that emotional connection, which is what our children need when they are feeling like they are bubbling over. If you want to be just like these royals that can even post on Instagram about the funny antics of their child learning and growing and following a normal developmental sequence of sensory processing, then go and check out this next video that is on your screen now. It is going to give you everything you need to know about sensory overstimulation.